Hi, everyone. It's Barb Egan with Therapy Talks. And on today's podcast, we have Claudia Koehoorn, a therapist from the Netherlands specializing in the differences between male brains and female brains and communication. We talk about that male brains are more like a bento box. They're very compartmentalized, whereas female brains are more like the super highway or a big pot of spaghetti of all the sauce, the noodles, the meat, the garlic, the onions, all mixed together. And they're not wrong. They're just different. So we talk about ways to enhance communication, especially working with couples, being specific, giving specific parameters, and of course, then talking about specifically to women, how to tap into our intuition, eliminate some of that negative self-talk, self-doubt, and really use visualization and other strategies to become more confident, tap more into who you are to enhance not only who you are as an individual, but in your relationships too. So I hope you join us. What is your story? Tell us a little bit about your story.
I studied psychology and communication, and I blend that into what I'm doing now. And I'm also a transformational therapist. So I call myself a transformologist, which is like a psychologist and a transformational therapist in one. And my own personal story is I'm in a wheelchair. I've been in a wheelchair for about 15 years now, I think. I've been chronically ill since beginning of my 20s. And I have my own practice. And when people describe me, they always describe me like very positive and always living in the now. And that's absolutely right.
Yes, you have a beautiful smile and demeanor, even just in the few minutes of talking with you.
Yeah, so I got a lot on my plate in my life, and I use my personal experience with my knowledge of brain and psychology and behavior to guide people to not let them have that negative filter on all the time, but to make them aware they have a choice. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I can't walk, but I sure roll my talk.
So how do you help people change that negative filter? Because I can imagine most of us or most of our listeners are thinking, wow, I wish I could get rid of my negative filter from time to time or more. So,
well, the easiest thing to do when you experience a negative filter is just to change your focus from the negative thing you're focusing on to what's already good in your life. And that's so much, because in our daily life, we can forget how good we have everything figured out in our lives. We live in beautiful countries where there's enough healthcare. We live in rich countries. We have a roof over our head. We have a nice bed. We have partners, children, pets, work. We have so much to live for. We have sunshine and rain, and everything is equally nice. So for me, the easiest way to do that is just not focus on the negative, but just take a minute to really look around you in your life and what's already positive in your life. Or when you struggle with, I can't do that, or I can't do that yet, focus on what you can do already, because we achieve so much in our lives and we discard it when we reach it, don't we?
Mm-hmm. I love that wording too. I'm growing in that in my own life, but I encourage people in that in my practice of, I'm not good at that yet, or I'm growing in that ... yet. I think there's a really powerful part about our word and kind of either keep on cycle or that negative spiral. I think we've all been there where it's like, I just started down that rabbit hole or that train of thought. And before you know it, you're so down in the dumps. Yes. And adding those types of words, I'm growing, I'm learning, or just, I'm not great at this ... yet.
Yet, exactly. And also, if you want to change your negative filter, just change your words.
Yeah.
everywhere, because you can easily fall into the habit of just talking yourself down.
Right.
And words like, I have to.
Yeah.
You can easily change it. I can, I will, I might.
Right. Right.
Or if you say but a lot, and I don't mean Joe behind, I mean the word but, then you can easily translate that with and.
Right.
I would love to come to your party, but I can't. Or I would love to come to your party, I can't make it, and I would like to schedule another appointment.
Right.
That's so much more open and friendly to yourself and to the other person.
Right.
Words
Yeah,
have so much power.
Closes it in a little bit.
Yes.
Wow.
So I like the practical ways of changing a negative filter.
Yes, me too. I'm all about the practicality.
Yes. And that's what people want, right?
Right. Yeah. That it's evidence-based, there's some research behind it, but that it fits into their real life too. Because otherwise it's like, great, this is science, or this is what research tells us, but it doesn't really connect to me. And there's this big disconnect still.
Yes.
So speaking of science and research and the brain, tell us a little bit about what you do in your specialties, especially with the male brain, the female brain, and all that you work in.
Yes, I'm specialized in the difference between the male and the female brain. And although that difference is biologically not that big as most people think, or maybe bigger than some people think, in daily life, of course, we experience a lot of differences. And the main differences are between male and female are in hormones, in communication. And women always start laughing when I say this, because we women have far more words than men.
Right.
When we tell a story, we add everything to it. Guys go straight to the point.
Right.
And guys are very direct, and we can just a little bit go around the bush and not mention what we really want. So, for example, in my practice, I coach a lot of therapy for couples also. And I explain to them, this is how he sees the world, experience it, and this is how you, or the other way around. And just by understanding that there are some biological differences, you can stop with trying to change the other person and try to figure a way how to just live together in more harmony. Because a lot of couples who come into my therapy practice, they are on the path of, he's just not listening to me. He's just not doing what I tell him to do. And then I go like, you're not his mother, right?
Right.
You're his wife, girlfriend, whatever. So act like that.
So what would be a practical example of that, of kind of switching that? Because you kind of get that, I mean, I'm just going to use a stereotype, and this is often couples that walk into my office.
Yes.
It's that one's, and I'm just going to use a stereotype. It could be either, but let's say the woman is more controlling or nagging. That's a common word that's used.
Yes.
How do you help someone switch from maybe more nagging, controlling, more like a being like his mother, to more like a partner or a girlfriend or a wife or a friend?
Yeah. Like I try to explain to them that they have to communicate more clear, because you can expect that somebody understands what you're trying to say because you're partners for a long time, but you don't have a crystal ball. The other partner doesn't have a crystal ball. So you just have to be specific about what you want. Like women can nag about vacuum the room. And you can ask your partner, would you mind vacuum the room today? And he goes like, yeah, sure. And after an hour, she goes like, why didn't you vacuum the room already?
Right.
That's nagging. And what you can do to change that is just say what you really want. Can you vacuum the room between now and an hour?
Right.
Before the visitors come, before I come home from work. Just say exactly what you want, because then the other one knows, oh, that's expected from me.
Here's the specifics. I have some guidelines to work with. Yeah.
Just be straightforward what you want. And when you tell something, like women come from home from the office and they have this story about what went on that day, right? And if you don't come to the point in like the first 2 minutes, you see the guy goes like, he's drifting off.
Right.
Most of the time, it's because you use too much detail. And you can do that with other women.
Yeah.
But guys usually, and of course, this is very black and white, but guys usually don't want to know all the details. They want to know the core of it.
Right. So get to the main point.
Yes, get to the main point. Exactly. And what usually comes up with couples or with women in their individual programs is emotions. Because we experience emotions in a different way than men. And men and women are different, and one is not better than the other, but just different. And if you can understand each other a little bit better, like when a guy says to another guy, I really don't like you, because they can say that, the other guy goes like, oh yeah, sure, fine, want a beer? And they go have a beer, because that guy really thinks it's your problem. You don't like me. I don't need to do anything about that. And they just can have a beer. Women tend to make it of their own. We're not that straightforward. We would never usually say to another woman, I really don't like you. It goes like, do you know she doesn't like you?
Right.
And then what happens with us is, why don't you like me? I'm giving my best to you. I'm a really nice person. Why don't you like me? And we turn in like Jekyll and Hyde. Like we can do anything to make you like me. Or we go like, if you don't like me, I don't like you. Bye. And in between, there's little space. So what we do different than men is we make it of our own. You don't like me. We translate like, I am doing something wrong that makes you not like me. So I have to make up for it. And that's because we experience emotions a little bit deeper, and we connect emotions to everything throughout our day. Like how someone looks at you or doesn't look at you.
Yeah.
And we already have an emotion, but we're not aware of it. And if you come more aware of that, that's natural for women to connect emotions to situations or persons all day long. And when you talk about it to yourself or to another person, which we like to do, you reinforce that emotion. And it stacks. And that's something men rarely do. So when a guy says, I really don't understand why you're so upset about it, he really means it. He really doesn't get it.
Right. Right.
So explain to him why you are feeling like that. What went on in your head, because he can't read you. He doesn't know what's going on in your head.
What if someone's hearing that and thinks, yes, because I love how you share the specifics, like with vacuuming. Like if you're having people over for dinner tonight and you ask your husband to vacuum, and this is a real life, like this is my life. I resonate so much with this. I'm like, can you fold the laundry? Can you vacuum? Yeah. Yep. And it's like the very concise, like one word answers. I'm more of a talker. And if I give a parameter, that would probably be much more beneficial for both of us.
Yes.
So specific. So if someone's hearing that and is thinking, just share what's going through your mind with him, but it's really hard for her, where can she start?
She can start by telling him, I'm going to share something with you. I'd like to share something with you, and you don't have to solve it. I just want you to listen. We forget it. Guys, they hear a problem and they want to fix it. And they have good intentions why they want to fix it. But women, we like to talk about what's happening, what we're worried about, because by talking about it, we get clear about what's going on for ourselves. So just explain what you expect from him. Just listen to me. You don't have to solve it. I get there on my own, but I like you to listen to me. And sometimes, because we have so much more words, you have to use his words. So that might take a little bit of work. But for one emotion, we can have 5 or 6 different words, right? But he uses maybe one. So use the one that he uses. Listen to what he says. And also think about when you're going to talk about something or ask something. Because when he's busy doing something, he's not listening.
Right. The timing is very important.
A male's brain is usually focused on one process at a time. And we go like, oh, I see, I'm cooking. I'm looking at the kids, what they're doing over there. I'm thinking about what we're going to eat tomorrow. I'm going to have to go to the grocery store. We can do all things at the same time. That's just a difference. And when he's, for example, working on his computer, and you start talking to him, he might not hear you and not process what you're telling him. Or another example is when guys go to bed, they go to bed, right? Don't know if you recognize this. Honey, I'm going to bed. Okay, turn on the TV, I'm going to bed. And he's lying down and he sleeps within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Women, we say, I'm going to bed, honey. Oh, yeah. And first we clear out the dishwasher. We check if all the doors are closed. Maybe we take the dog out for a walk. We fold some laundry. We do all kinds of stuff while we're going to bed. And what we forget is that when a guy says, I'm going to bed, he switches off.
Right.
That's not a good time to talk about things that need to be done the next day. Don't try it, ladies. Pick another time or ask, when is the best time for me to talk about these things with you?
Mm-hmm. And keep track of them. So if your head's going around and around and you need to get it out, at least you get it out on that piece of notebook, paper or phone. Because so many couples that I work with, it's that 5 o'clock right after work and they're hungry and they're just kind of irritated. There hasn't been any buffer time. That's where some arguments happen. And even that's backed by Dr. John and Julie Gottman's research that they're the leading couples therapists of the Gottman method of seeing, couples actually argue quite a bit around that 5-6 time after work. They're hungry or late at night. And nothing good usually happens past 11 p.m. You're trying to talk. And how you're describing all of this, Claudia, is like straight out of my house too. And I'm a therapist, of like, even last night, my husband was playing hockey, got home, and he like midway through talking to me, literally fell asleep.
Still like you. Don't worry.
Yeah. And I'm like, I know not to try. And we weren't even having like a deep conversation or anything. It was more like reflecting on the day. And I'm like, I've got to position this at a different time. Because for me, I love that. And I think as women, a lot of it is we long for that verbal connection too. Yes. And so we still need to fight for that or find time for that, but the opportune time of not in the midst of, while he's working or almost asleep, and literally even this morning. So I know it's evening in the Netherlands. It's morning out here in British Columbia, and we're getting things ready for the day for our kids and all of that. And they're in swimming and hockey and all of that. So he literally said those exact words as mommy can multitask, but I cannot. Yes. I have to focus on one thing at a time.
You listened, so you hear him.
Yeah.
If you want to have better conversations with your spouse, listen to what he's saying.
Right.
To you, to your kids, to your pets.
Yeah.
Because men can also talk to a cat or a dog like, mommy's being mean to me again.
Yeah.
You hear that? Just pay attention to what he's saying.
Right. Yeah.
And then you guys, what do you mean? What did I do? Tell me. Because I want to make it better.
Yeah. The specifics. Yeah.
Specifics again.
I've heard it said, and I'd love to hear your take on this, that women's brains compared to men's brains. So men's brains would be more of like a bento box, like those compartmentalized little lunch box or Japanese style boxes where everything it's all on one platter, but it's separate. It's compartmentalized. Whereas women's brains are more like a huge pot of chili or spaghetti. Like it's all mixed together. The noodles, the sauce, the mushrooms, the ground beef, the garlic, the onions, all of that.
Yes. It's women's brain are like a superhighway.
Yeah.
And everything is connected.
Right.
So we can go from, how was your day today, honey? Yeah, it was great. Oh, by the way, tomorrow I'm running late and the kids are going to have to go to practice for soccer and I need to get milk because it goes like, what?
Right. Boom, 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 boom.
Yes. Like if you, for example, are talking about, would you like to have dinner this Saturday night? Yeah, sure. And you will say something like, oh, maybe we can go for Thai. Then he's processing Thai. And what women usually do is, oh, maybe we can go to the Mexican. Or would you like to go to the new Indian restaurant? And he goes like, we were going to the Thai, right? What's happened?
Right.
Usually we are going a little bit faster and they just can't catch up with us.
Right.
And men, when you talk about a problem or anything else, it goes like in that box. He opens up that box. He discusses what's in that box. And then he puts the box back. And being very carefully not to touch any other boxes.
Right.
And then he goes to the next.
Yeah.
And all these boxes are open at the same time. And it's worse with emotions.
Right.
Because when we are overwhelmed, what we experience a lot in our lives, especially when you have young children and a career and everything's going on in your life, you could easily get overwhelmed. Usually it's not just overwhelm. Because when you talk about problems with a psychotherapist or somebody else, usually we forget the emotions. The emotion part is the biggest part that is different between male and female brains, because women are driven by emotions, right? And men are usually driven by analytics, facts. So when we are overwhelmed, for example, usually there are other boxes opening up at the same time, like hurt and grief and self-doubt and all these things together. And they go into the blender and we call it, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know anything at this time. We can separate it from ourselves. He can separate it. He just thinks, what's going on? So tell yourself, just take time, well, what's going on with me, and share it with him. I'm a woman. I'm sorry. I'm different. Don't have to say I'm sorry, really, but I'm a woman and I experience everything a little bit different. Mm-hmm. Because usually they are interested.
Right.
If you get to the point.
Right. You've got to get to the point. And how long would you say that you have to make your point before you lose that prime spot of opportunity to connect and communicate?
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Get to the point within 2 minutes.
That's a good time frame.
Yeah. So it helps, like you said, just write down everything that's going on in your head and then pick your priorities. What's really need to be discussed and what's not. And then just start with the most important thing and come straight to the point. And brain are so
fascinating.
Fascinating, yeah.
And it is. It's so true that even these simple examples, I think everyone can resonate with. And I love that premise. And it's one I use a lot of, just kind of that theme is it's not wrong. It's just different.
Yes.
We're wired differently.
We're wired differently.
Wrong.
Yes.
We're different. Women, we're not wrong. We're different. Yes. And to embrace that. And I think if we play those down or kind of deny those, then we kind of even hinder our ability to connect, because we are different, and that's okay. It's not a bad thing. It's just, we have to recognize that, acknowledge it, so we can move around that and actually use it to connect more powerfully.
Yes, exactly. And the difference is why we like each other, right?
Right.
If we weren't different, we wouldn't be here on the earth anymore.
Right. So let's say that someone's listening, they really resonate with some of these. Where do they start of just even communication? That's usually a big one that most couples struggle through or want to improve on. They're realizing he thinks this way, very blunt, or to the point. She thinks more like that super highway spaghetti factory of it's going everywhere. What's a practical step that they could do? I know the 2 minute time frame, like try to get your point across, but what are some other tips to enhance communication between men and women?
Don't start talking about difficult topics when you're in emotion.
Okay.
Because literally when you are in emotion, you get a little bit dumber temporarily.
Yeah.
Yes, we all recognize that, right?
Yeah.
You just can't think logically anymore. You're overtaken by the emotion. So, and if you are hurt or angry or frustrated and you start talking about it, you usually start talking a little bit louder, a little bit faster, and the other one could think, oh, it's about me. And if you are feeling attacked, what do?
Go on the defense or go on the attack.
Yes, exactly. So you don't get your point across. You don't get the reaction you want. So if you are feeling all kinds of emotions, just say, let's not talk about it right now. Take a break. Take a deep breath, walk away, wash your hands, whatever. That's a trap.
Yeah.
It's a trap to talk into emotions while you're experiencing emotion. Just give yourself time to calm down. And what's really funny is a difference between men and women is we like to stare into each other's eyes, right?
Yeah.
Women, we like this connection with the eyes. But men usually go like, it's making me a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Why are you looking at me all the time? What do you want from me? So if you want to talk about something that's a little bit difficult, go for a walk.
Yeah.
Or talk about it in the car. Because then you're just doing something different. Your brain will benefit by it. And he doesn't have to look at you all the time.
Right.
And for most men, that's a little bit easier.
Right. Not as intimidating,
It
vulnerable.
could be because we use eye contact to figure out where you're at, how you're feeling. We are masters in reading the nonverbal communication. Men a little bit less.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because we all know you go to a party and then in the car back, you drive back and you say like, oh, she wasn't doing very well, was she?
Right.
And he goes like, what do you mean? There's nothing wrong with her. Yes.
Right.
Didn't you feel the tension? No.
Right. Right.
That's because of the nonverbal communication. We read so well.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And we could think that our partner can read us like that. They don't, honey. They really don't. So also be very clear on what you need. And when do you need it? Because we're all driven by hormones, women more than men. And we can different from week to week, from day to day, from hour to hour, right? And we don't understand ourselves. So how can we expect them to understand us? And it's not a bad thing that we are so changeable. It makes us more interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way you see it.
Right. How did you get into this line of work and studying the male brain, the female brain, working with couples?
I started off with when I studied psychology. In the first year, we needed to make an overview of all the known therapies and the therapists who invented them. And when I was done, I looked at the paper and I go like, they're all men. Where are the women?
Right.
Because we all know Jung, Freud,
right.
Piaget, Maslow. They're all guys. So I went to my professor and I started talking about it. I said, why are there only men?
Yeah.
And can you please give me the name of a well-known female psychologist?
Yeah.
And he went like, I don't know. And I was triggered by that.
Yeah.
And then I discovered, because I was curious, I was reading a lot about it and just diving into it. And then I discovered that most of the medicine used for females are tested on male.
Interesting.
And then I got intrigued even more. And I go like, how can they expect, because they tested it on mice, male mice, which were castrated. That doesn't make them a woman.
Wow.
So that's what's really, and that was going on until the late 90s of the last century. That's not that long ago. So, for example, the pill, how do you call that in Canada?
Oh, like birth control pill?
Birth control? Mm-hmm. Were tested on males.
Oh my goodness.
So that's why in the beginning of birth control, they didn't know how women would react to it.
Wow.
And they were, what's happening with these ladies?
Wow.
And that's also the reason why only for the last, I don't know in Canada, but in Europe, it's been for about the last 10 years that they understand that women experience a lot of different symptoms when having a heart attack than men.
Wow.
Because for male, it usually is the jaw hurts, the left arm hurts, pain chest. And for women, it can be nausea.
Wow.
Shoulder pain, neck pain, while they're having a heart attack.
Wow.
Did you know that about this in Canada?
I don't think it's very talked about. Not that part. I haven't heard much.
Okay. It's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And luckily, the scientists are doing more and more research. So everything is getting a little more out there, and women are starting to learn about this and can take more measurements before of it.
Oh, that's fascinating. Wow. I know I love learning about the differences between the male brain, the female brain, just how we operated. And in fact, I find it very empowering as a woman to just know myself, my thoughts, my emotions more too, so I can honor that and communicate that in a healthy way.
Yes. And not be driven by them.
Right.
But to give yourself a choice, because when you don't understand your own emotions or negative thoughts and convictions, then you could feel like I'm not good enough, doubting yourself a lot, not communicating because you think nobody wants to listen to me. I'm not that important. I can do that.
Right.
So get to know yourself and your emotions and what's going on with you, and just recognize your inner voices.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And that's what I work a lot on with women, because I work with couples, but I work most of the time with women, one-on-one in programs, just teaching them that inner voice.
Yeah.
Isn't that important? It's just an opinion.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just an opinion. And it doesn't even tell you the same every time. It can change. So how important is it?
Right. So when you're working with women, because I think a lot of our listeners will resonate with that and the negative filter and sifting through those thoughts. A thought is just a thought. It's not necessarily truth.
Yes.
How do you help them? What does that process look like?
The process is like I explain to them that a lot of that is unconscious. Okay. Like you can decide that you don't want to act in a certain way, and then it already happened, right? Mm-hmm. And they go like, I don't know why I'm doing that. I don't want to do that. So you have to understand that a lot of these negative emotions are automatic behavior. Yeah. So you need to change something in your thinking, but also in your feeling and also in your acting. It's a whole process. So I'm working with different methods than most of the psychologists in Europe, because that's almost always designed by a man. So also specifically targeted for men. Right. And I work with a method that's specifically designed for female brains in a female process. And that helps my clients to understand and accept that we connect emotions differently and that they will influence us differently. And those connections you can easily get rid of, but you have to replace it with something else. Like if you're telling yourself, I'm not good enough, and you compare yourself all the time to other women, the other one is mostly all the time is smarter, thinner, more beautiful, whatever. We're not up to their alley, right? But if you keep telling yourself that, you just add and reinforce that negative emotion. And you can really easily get rid of it by tuning in back with your own wisdom. Because we all have that intuition, right? We women are driven by emotions, and we all have that inner wisdom hidden in our intuition, but we don't listen to it.
How does someone tap into that?
Usually you will recognize when there's a situation that's gone wrong, with whether it's a relationship with a guy or you're having an arguing with a colleague or a friend or something. And I ask them, when did you know? When did you know it was going bad? Usually right at the beginning. Did you listen to it? No, because we want to save the other person, because we want to avoid conflict, because we have dozens of reasons why we don't listen to it.
Right. We try to justify it or see the best in someone, or play it down.
You have to convince yourself, right?
Right. Right.
So I make them aware of that first beginning where that inner voice speaks up, and just learn them to give that your attention more than all the stories we create around it. So that's the first step. But there is a specific method for women to help themselves with it. And it's not a very known method. Not yet. I hope it will go worldwide viral because it's a very easy way, because intuition comes naturally to women, but also visualization, right? When you, for the first time, went into the house you are now and you liked it, you were already decorating it, right?
Seeing where you'd put things.
Yes, we already know, oh, this is my home. And or when you are pregnant, you almost from the moment you know you are pregnant, you already know how it's going to be to hold that child in your arms, and how it's going to be in the crib or in the room, and how the room is decorating. And we just have this natural ability to see things before us, even when it's not there yet.
Right, right.
So that's what I use a lot. And one of the simplest tips to listen to your intuition is, if you're in a situation where you feel like you're stuck, imagine your girlfriend is telling you about it. Your friend is telling you about it. What would you say to her?
Right. Right.
Because that's your intuition, and you never doubt it when it's concerning a friend.
Yeah, to someone else.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for ourselves, we make a story about it. I shouldn't feel like that. I shouldn't do that anymore. Why am I doing that?
Right.
So that's what I love about my work. Just making the brain more. I explain the brain in a very practical way, so you understand why you are doing what you are doing.
Yeah.
And that also gives you immediately the power to change. The moment we realize we can make a decision, we have a choice, you automatically know you can change.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And I love that, because we are so smart.
Yeah.
We only forget to apply it to ourselves.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Asking, what would I say to a friend, or especially in those as you're tapping into your own intuition, because it is so true. If it's to a friend or someone that we care about, we do, as I think as women, we're nurturers, we're caring,
Yes.
and we want to help them, and we would, never say that to them. But how do the tables turn when it's to ourselves, and it's tapping into that intuition. And like you said, of reflecting of past times, of when did you see that start to go wrong or start to go south? And typically we can go back to a certain time.
Yes.
And it's, tap into that intuition, or tap into what you were thinking and feeling and sensing there, and trust that.
Exactly. And usually when you can do that for yourself, you also immediately feel that peace. Oh. And you stop judging yourself.
Yeah.
Because that's what's holding women back for a long time, is that judging yourself and self-doubt. Always doubting what you're doing, your choices, what you're thinking. It's exhausting.
So, Claudia, you shared a little bit about your methods and just your research and your knowledge and expertise around the male brain, the female brain, and then more specifically with women in particular, helping us trust our intuitions more, just, tap into what we do want, what we do think, your true self, really.
Yes.
And then able to communicate that, which is so vital for a healthy relationship. For two to become one, you first have to be two healthy individuals first.
Exactly. Yes.
And so I love that approach of working with a couple, but also working with women and really empowering women, because empowered women empower women. And I can see that through you, which is so encouraging. Where can our listeners find you? Where can they learn more about what you do? I can imagine a lot has resonated with people. So where can they find more?
They can find more on my website. It's in Dutch. I'm sorry. It's jouwtransformatie.nl. It's in English, it would be your transformation.
Oh, I like it.
But I only have a Dutch website, but I have English pages on it. So jouwtransformatie.nl/en is for English. Mm-hmm. So maybe we can share a link under the podcast. And there you can find more about me, about my story, about how I work. And you can see a video from one of my clients telling in English, because I work with women all over the world, not only in Dutch, but I also work with English speaking clients. Yeah. But I never thought about turning my website into English. Until recently. So that's an ongoing process. But there my story is on it. And listeners can find there a free masterclass about the female brains and self-doubt.
Oh, amazing. Oh, great.
And what voices do we have inside our heads that lead to self-doubt? And what can you do about it, of course?
Wow. Wow. Oh, that's fascinating. So a free masterclass on that. You work with people all over the world. So you have some English resources there on the website. Wow. That's fantastic. I'm going to check that out for myself, my clients. I think that's so valuable because really boiled it down. You said it earlier in the show, but that not good enough, I think is common to all of humanity, but I definitely see it in women so much. And to combat that negative talk, that self-doubt, I mean, as an individual, but then we're not usually just individuals. We're created for connection. We're in relationship. We're friends. We're daughters. We're wives. We're coworkers. We're mothers. And so if you can work on that part of you, then you get to show up so much more fuller in those relationships. And that does spill over to those two.
Exactly. Because if you change a woman, you don't change just that woman. Even if it's yourself, you will change all the women around you just by giving another example. Because when you suffer from insecurity or self-doubt and you have a daughter, you don't want her to experience it. You really don't. You want her to feel the most empowered version of herself.
Right.
But if you tell her, you don't have to be insecure, you just have to trust yourself, but you show her something else. Children don't listen to what we say as much as copy what we do.
Exactly. Yeah.
So change your own issues and you will change all the little girls around you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I love that. Honestly, that's what motivates me. I have a daughter, just being that for her and being that strong role model. And then for my sons too, of what a strong, healthy woman does look like we're that example. And I think that's such a high calling and what an honor to do the work on yourself. So like you said, it doesn't just stop with you. That ripple effect is to all those people around you.
Exactly. And I think if we could learn our children in elementary school what the differences are between boys and girls, and that it's okay, they're just different. Yeah. Just try to understand each other a little bit more. Then we could change the world for the better. Yeah. I hope we can experience that in our lifetime.
I know. I think we can in our spheres, in our world. Yes. Like wherever you are listening today, take that as hope that you can influence your world, whether that's your home, your cubicle, your workplace, your friend circle. Because I also heard it said, women are like a thermometer, not a temperature gauge. So temperature just reflects, a thermometer, just represents what the temperature already is in the room. So let's say it's 22 degrees or 75 degrees Fahrenheit. So it just reflects what it already is. But a thermostat, women are like a thermostat. We set the temperature.
Yes.
Whether it's
We
cold.
can dial it up or down.
Yeah.
Yes.
If we're warm, if we're inviting, cozy, all of that, or if we're cold and shut off and in that spiral, I think, those around us in our home or in our workplace or our friend circles, they sense that temperature. And we have that power to really tap into ourselves, do the work so that we can really shift the atmosphere of the room too.
Yes. And just help another woman who you can see struggle with that.
Yeah.
If you see another woman shutting down, just ask her, what do you need?
Yeah.
What can I do for you? Don't start throwing all kinds of tips at her or tools. Just ask, what do you need? What do you want?
Yeah.
Because we are, like you said, made for connection.
Yeah.
And we bloom when we feel connected.
Well, that's so true. That is so true. Oh, well, Claudia, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you have a good rest of your evening in the Netherlands.
Oh, I will. Yeah.
We'll share your links on our podcast. And again, just thank you for coming on and sharing your wisdom and expertise, especially the differences in men and women, in the male brain, female brain, some communication tips, and just that empowered self of a woman and trusting her intuition. I think that's so beautiful, so inspiring. Thank you. Your smile, your story is just really radiating. And I just really thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for your time. I loved being on it. And also, I love your podcast.
Oh, good.
I'm a huge fan.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome.
I really think you are making a difference in the world by it.
Oh, thank you.
Just giving people access to all that knowledge, experience. It's wonderful.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you for being a part of it.
Yes, thanks.